Welcome to Scene Change, a podcast by the National Federation of the Blind Performing Arts Division. All about equality, opportunity, accessibility, and the arts. Here, you'll learn adaptive techniques from performers in the know. We are changing what it means to be blind, one stage at a time. Thank you for joining us today. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Scene Change. I'm your host, Lizzy Muhammad Park, and we are live at the National Federation of the Blind 2025 National Convention. If you guys don't know, I'll let you in on a little secret. Katelyn and I are roommates this year, so we decided to co-host both of these episodes. Welcome to the show, Katelyn.
Thank you. It's great to be back again.
We have two awesome guests today. I almost called you guys co-hosts, but I feel like you're gonna act like co-hosts. But we have two bro hosts. We have two awesome guests today, Briley O'Connor and Ryan Strunk.
Hey.
Here to tell us all about improv. Welcome to the show, Briley.
Thank you for having us.
And I can't believe it's your first time here. You were a board member and everything. Shame on us for not having you sooner.
You know, I'll forgive you someday.
Okay.
It's going to be a process, but somehow I will heal from this tragedy.
We'll heal together.
We will.
And welcome. And same to you, Ryan. Welcome.
Thank you. It took 25 years, but I am glad to be here.
25, my goodness. I haven't even...
That's right. It's your 25th convention.
25th
It
convention.
is. It's 25th convention.
25th year of National Federation of the Blind Performing Arts Division.
Wow. Congratulations to us.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we just kick off? We can do a little ladies first. Just introduce yourself to our listeners. Tell them where you're from. Any performing arts that you do now that you used to do. Just share.
Sure. Well, I'm originally from Virginia, and I live now in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I'm currently, for my day job that feeds me and my people, I'm the executive director of the Minnesota Center for the Blind, which is, thank you, which is an NFB training center in Minnesota. But my background, my bachelor's was in commercial music vocal performance from Belmont University a long time ago. We don't need to discuss when I graduated from college. And currently, I'm doing a lot of doing songwriting lately and singing a lot more recently than I have in a long time. I did improv for several years before the pandemic. Got into improv around 2016 when I moved to Minneapolis. Ryan said we used to do improv games a lot and stuff at national conventions with our friends. And he said, you should take an improv class. And I said, a room full of sighted strangers, no thank you. I will pass. Hard pass. Absolutely not. And he said, no, you really should. And I said, okay, fine. And so I did. And then I did it for several years. I didn't quit. It turned out it was pretty fun. So I did that for fun and then got more back into music a little bit during the pandemic because there wasn't as much to do anymore. And I got really busy with work. But lately I've just really been finding a lot of enjoyment in songwriting again. I have a really good friend who, Johnny Barahona, I'll have to send this to him. He's an amazing piano player and he was in town recently. We wrote a couple songs and just played a lot of music. And so that's been really good. I'm like, oh yeah, this is the thing. You know, when you eat something really good and your body is like, oh, that's the thing that I wanted to eat. It's like, what do they call that, Ryan, in intuitive harmony with your body?
I have no idea.
Intuitive eating. I don't know. I think you told me about that. But when you harmony with your body, when you eat something that you really wanted, I'm like, oh, that's it when I do, music or create, that's that feeling for me. So even if I never do it again for my job, how do I still make room for that? So anyway, that's my intro.
I love it. I love it.
And I think the question was, what was your name, right?
No, that's great. How about you, Ryan?
So I have been doing improv off and on for, 12 years now. Back when I worked for Blind Incorporated, we used to go to their preview shows. The Brave New Workshop was the local improv theater. And we went and we saw some preview shows and they said, hey, if you want to take a class and see if you can do this, you totally should. And so I did. And the rest is history. And over the years, I've done everything from an a cappella musical theater improv troupe to just a bunch of random scene plays. At one point, we were in a group called Mayo-Based Salads. Because the way that most improv troupes are named is somebody says something really funny in one scene and people go, that'd be a good troupe name. Kind of like how everybody goes, oh, that would be a great band name, or that would be a great t-shirt. That's how you create band names or improv troupes too. But yeah, Mayo-Based Salads. We were in one called the Pickup Artists, and have done some fun festivals around the country as part of that.
That's amazing. And you have musical experience too.
Yeah,
Yes.
I got a degree in music education, and then
Awesome.
realized I was not a great babysitter of high school students. All my love and respect to the people who have that ability, but what I really wanted to do was make beautiful music with people, and the idea of teaching high school choir is so much more than that. And so I went, this is not for me. But improv, and then just playing around with my own music stuff at home, also dabble in some songwriting and the like, gives me the ability to keep the spark alive.
Also, Ryan, you still do make beautiful music because you made our intro and outro music. So thank you for that.
And shout out Tom Page.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
for sure. Well, question for you, Briley. I remember back when you joined our board and you were, saying that, you sang, you always sang throughout your life. But you were looking to get back into the performing arts. And I believe it was around that time that you were doing improv. So would you say that improv sort of, based on where you were then and where you are now, would you agree, or what are your thoughts on improv being a potential way to get people back on stage?
Yes, 100%. So improv had several benefits for me personally, and it could for other people. For me, it was there's a lot going on in my personal life at the time. There was a lot of chaos, and it was really difficult. And I had a really young baby, and sometimes moms, I imagine you could relate to this too, of like your identity is suddenly mom, and that's it. Or that's what it feels like it is. And especially if you don't have a lot of friends with kids. That was kind of the position that I was in. I didn't really have any friends with kids. I had just moved to a new place. It's really hard to make a whole group of new friends when you're 30.
Yeah.
Like making adult friendships is really difficult. It's not proximity based anymore. And so it was a lot going on. And it's like I need something. I don't really know the music community here at all. I don't have friends. So if nothing else, this will be a way to make friends. And so for me, it was a way for me to reconnect with, I am a person outside of this parent role, which was super helpful for me. It also helped me be really comfortable in my body. As a blind person in particular, even when I was doing music more professionally, like for pay and things, that was a piece that was always kind of difficult because as blind people, we are so hyper aware of our bodies at all times because everyone else is hyper aware of our bodies at all times, right? We don't blend in well. People feel the need to touch us and move us without consent, right? I was always so hyper concerned about on stage, were my movements too big? Were they too small? Did I look stupid? Right. It was very hard for me to be comfortable, particularly sober. That's a joke. Sort of. But, to be really comfortable with those pieces and sometimes the banter of like stagecraft and stuff. I loved doing backup singing and things. I still do, because it's a team sport. That's what I always really liked. But the front man piece was always really difficult. It's like, what do I say? I'll do the singing part, but the saying part was hard. So improv for me, one of the things you do a lot is use your body a ton for space work. You don't have any props, usually. Sometimes you do with certain forms and things, but for the most part, props that you have are invisible. You carry a coffee cup, you're carrying an invisible coffee cup. You imagine the space on the stage becomes your set, and you have to be really comfortable learning where your body is in space, what movements look like to other people, and doing it without thinking that much about it. I remember in my Improv 4 class, I had an instructor. Do you remember his name, Ryan? Jason? Do you remember?
No.
I can't remember his. It'll come to me. If it does, I'll give him a shout out. But I remember we were working on silent scenes, which are exactly what they sound like. Somebody gives a suggestion, and then usually one or two performers just do the scene, but there's no dialogue. Not the most fun to watch as a blind person. And I did not want to do it. I usually was up for most things in improv, but I did not have the best attitude about doing silent scenes. And really what it was is because I was not comfortable with if I was doing things that looked right. You know, I got up there and I was kind of just trying to get through it, see how fast I could get it over with just putting laundry away. And he goes, "Is that how you do laundry?" I'm like, okay. So then I tried a little harder and I was like, all right, we're going to do it. They're like, yeah, okay. He goes, okay, now heighten the scene. And I'm like, what? He goes, it's on fire. And I'm like, ah! And you know, so he gave me that suggestion that got me out of my head about it. Right. And I remember in another class I was in a scene and the instructor stopped me and he said, "You're very, very funny, but you talk too much." And he was right though. And he wasn't being rude, right? He was right. And what I realized was there's not as much give and take. And I wasn't doing it because I thought I was the funniest in the scene. I was doing it because if I didn't control the situation, would I be sure about what was happening? Could I trust my scene partners to really be able to also carry the scene and follow what I was doing if I missed a visual cue, right? And if I talked a lot, then I didn't have to do as much space work and I didn't have to be uncertain. And so it was a really good exercise for me in how to trust other people, how to get better with my body in space. And over time, I enjoyed being that third character in the scene that would just pop in and do weird things behind other people in the main scene. There was one time 2 other characters were doing one where they were in a pet store for some reason. As a married couple, they were fighting over something. And I just pretended to be this homeless woman that snuck in and just kept stealing fish out of a fish tank and putting him in her purse, you know? And I didn't have to say anything to do that. I don't know where this stuff comes from in my brain, but that's improv was really helpful for me for those reasons. I used to be a lot more shy. I know I say that to people now, and they're like, "You were shy? What?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, no, I was very shy and very, uncomfortable in my skin with new people and all that." And then some of it's probably age. After 30, you care a little less. But a lot of it was improv. I owe that to improv.
I love that.
Sure.
I love that for, so many performing arts are so good as a blind person. Even if you're not going to do it professionally, you're not going to maybe take lessons for forever or anything, but just to try them, to get out of your comfort zone, to, like you said, to do body work, to get comfortable in your skin and know that you can move freely and you can move confidently around. So I love that. So can one or both of you give us for anyone who's never heard of it before, or done it before, or seen it before, what is improv at its core? And then give us maybe go into some of the rules that you talk about briefly with improv.
I want to throw one other thing in there.
Yes, please, Ryan.
You guys can edit this appropriately.
Please do.
One of the things that was really fascinating for me about getting into improv was, when I worked at Blind Incorporated, everybody around me was a blind instructor, right? Mm-hmm. And we all had this identity and this goal in common. And to get into improv and to meet bartenders and insurance adjusters and a doctor and a food scientist, and suddenly, getting exposed to all these people from different walks of life really sort of opens up a whole new variety of perspectives. And the other thing that was really cool is I think almost everyone that I have met who goes into comedy has something about their life that has made it more difficult. And whether it is having and I use difficult in sort of air quotes, right? Like, not that our lives are hard, but there are challenges with being a blind person that don't exist with not. And there are people who've maybe had rough childhoods, or maybe people who have at one time dealt with substance abuse. Everybody has a cross to bear. And what that really translated into for me was this amazing space where everybody was more welcoming. And there were so many times where you'd walk into a class and the instructor would come and they'd say, so we're going to do this exercise and it's going to be like this. And I'm not sure how to do that for you, but we'll figure it out together.
That's great.
And that was, I think, the first time in a performance space that I ever really encountered something like that.
That's so refreshing.
It's a real team sport.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So let's elaborate on that. So what is improv at its core? What happens? What happens on stage? What do people do? Either of you can take it, then you can jump back
I'm
and forth.
throwing that one to you. You're
Okay.
better at succinct definitions than I am.
So there
Brevity's
are
not my ministry.
there are two sort of main forms of improvisation, what you might call short form and long form. So short form is, if anybody's ever seen Whose Line Is It Anyway? It's a lot of
Yes.
games, word play, really quick, rapid fire jokes that go back and forth. Whereas long form improv is almost always narrative in some form or fashion. So maybe somebody will give you a suggestion and you'll do a whole scene off of that, and that scene could go on for 3 to 5 minutes. Sometimes people do what's called a mono scene that goes on for like 20 minutes. And you discover and you learn as you go along, and then maybe that inspires somebody to do something else and you switch to another scene. But it's a lot more involved, and the goal there is to explore a theme, a character, a situation, and the comedy happens as a consequence of what you're doing, as opposed to telling a joke on purpose.
I like
Yeah,
that.
short form is more joke based, and long form, it's the truth with a side of comedy. Just
Yeah.
because life is funny sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so you're working with the other people. I love that it's collaborative. I know that sometimes can be a solo scene too, but often you're playing off of other people. So what are some of those rules when you're interacting? I know you've taught them in workshops before at the convention here and virtually. Give us a couple examples of some of those ground rules that you might have.
So the first one, and the one that everybody talks about, is yes and, which means that if somebody tells you something, if somebody walks up in a scene and goes, "Oh my gosh, you have a huge stain on your shirt," you can't be like, "No, I don't." The first thing you have to say is, "Oh man, you're right. Yes, I do." And I got it when I was, and then, you sort of lean into this idea. So whatever somebody gives you, you have to accept it as a gift.
This is a really important one for beginning people. The goal of this one, in my mind, is to help you remove your filter. So commit to the thing that comes out of your mouth, and build something around that, right? It's the hope of that one too, is to get out of the way of yourself, right? And to not worry as much about saying something that's wrong. So, for example, one of the things that we do, one of the games initially in Improv, one that we played about everything you say is right, was What's in the Box. Do you remember this game, Ray?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So the What's in the Box game is you make 2 lines, and the people on each end of the line, you meet in the middle, and one person kind of reach out and they say, "Here you go," and you say, "What's in the box?" And the other person says the first thing that they think of. It could be, okay, the hopes and dreams of Leonard Nimoy from 1987, and then you can build on that too with yes and then so sometimes you'll build on that and the person has to respond in some way. But the idea of that one is to get people to jump in with that. Another one is, what's the one where people jump in the middle of the circle? And
Yeah. Oh, clams are great.
clams are great because yes. So the whole idea is like this: there's a circle, and someone runs in the middle, and they have to, until somebody tags them out, give a bunch of reasons why clams are great. So like, clams are great because they live upside down, and then people go, yes. Right? The whole room around you goes, yes. Yeah. Clams are great because they wear tuxedos on Saturdays.
Yes.
Clams are great because they love to swim in champagne flutes.
Yes.
Right? Yes. So, but it doesn't even matter what it is, but it really gets you over that being so worried of what you're going to say that you don't say anything. Right?
Another big one.
Self-criticism.
Oh, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
No, I was just going to say the self-criticism and the anxiety that can kind of come along with that. It seems like this is a good exercise for kind of working through some of that.
Yes.
And I think the really cool thing that comes from trusting that is that can be useful in so many different aspects of life. You know, I remember facilitating a convention one time, and we had this great presentation, and I said, does anybody have a question? And nobody had a question. I'm like, I cannot have this person up here just hanging on a hook. So I'm like, actually, I have a question. I said that, and then I'm like, shoot, I don't actually have a question. But by the time I got from my seat to the podium next to them, I had something in my mind, that I could sort of create as I went along. And then, of course, after that first question, then everybody in the audience has a question. But it's the idea of if you jump, you do have the ability to catch yourself. You just have to trust that you have to trust that you have that ability.
It's true. It's definitely a skill. You're going to say another rule. Yes, you are.
Oh, well, that was one of them.
Okay.
But the other one, a huge one in particularly in group-based improv is you have to listen to the people around you. Nobody wants to be in the scene with the person who's just a me monster the entire time. And so you have to listen to the people, listen to what they say, and respond just as in good communication, right? You can't be thinking of the next thing you want to say while the other person is talking. Sometimes they say, listen like a thief, right? You need to be completely quiet. You need to listen to the people around you, and you need to respond to what they do, and not just be a pushy pants all the time.
Your job in a scene, when you're in a scene with somebody else, is to make them look good. You're not thinking about how can I be funnier? How can I be better? And not that you never think that. That'd be a lie. I mean, you have to be a little nuts to get on stage and make up weird stories for the public consumption, right? So if you didn't have a little of that, confidence. But the goal should be to put your scene partner before yourself, right? And if they're doing the same for you, then you can build something together that's
true.
Good, and usually funny, or even if it's not, you both leave feeling like, okay, well, we tried.
You never go to an orchestra concert and go, God, that orchestra was terrible, but the flute player was great, right? and improv's the same way. If you sit through an awful scene, it's because everybody is awful, right? Nobody's like, oh, that scene was awful, but the guy in the red T-shirt was amazing. Like, nope, it's either all good or it's not.
And the reasons that sometimes improv scenes go off the rails is for either somebody negating someone else, they're negating their scene partner, or thinking that they're the funniest, or not cutting high enough, letting it go on too long, right? If a scene's not going well, it's okay. Just cut it. Move on. It'll never happen again. That's the beauty of improv. It's already over. You never have to do it again.
Speaking of things that may or may not go so well, I'm not sure, in improv, especially as a blind person, have either or both of you ever had to act a scene or do something on stage that you've never seen before? And how did you...
Yes.
Yeah. What did you do?
All the time.
Constantly. So actually a few times I did I would ask my instructor in class questions, because I remember one time in a scene I wanted to be a penguin, but I had my hands under my arms like a chicken. But I didn't know that until afterward. I don't remember which class this was, but anyway, they're like, oh, well, why was a chicken there? And I was like, oh, that was a penguin. They were like, no, you weren't a penguin though. And so that's when I learned, like, the penguin is your hands are down, your arms are down by your sides and your hands are like out a little like flippers, right? And are pointed out. That's the international sign of I'm a person and also a penguin. You know, so yes. And you can always ask questions. One time I had to build a tent. That was the one I had to do at Stevie Ray's one time on stage when Ryan and I were in this improv troupe together. I had to build a freaking tent. I'm like, I don't outdoors. I don't know how to tent. And I was like, all right, well, what I do know is there's pegs. So I just went around in a circle and I was like, well, tents are a triangle, right? So I just put pegs in a triangle because it was like where people had to, it was in rehearsal maybe and they had to guess what we were doing. I don't know. But you were given an activity, you had to do it. Mine was, of course, build a tent. I'm like, you couldn't have given me bake a cake or wash dishes or make a latte. I don't even know. But no, you gave me build a tent. But so I don't remember if, I think they said that that's what I was doing. I think I did enough to where it looked like I was building a tent, but absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and keep in mind, though, that stuff kind of happens all the time. You'd have scenes regularly in improv in space. Right. I've never been to space. Probably nobody on the stage has ever been to space, you know? So, like, it's all right. And it's also okay to ask and say, I don't know what that looks like, if you want to know.
Sometimes if you have a good partner, they'll get real meta with it. You know, I mean, I've seen great scenes with people that are like, what are they doing back there? They're picking up and dropping things very awkwardly. You know? And breaking that fourth wall is a thing. I will say there was a time where I actually found a coach and I paid him like $20 an hour to just, I'm going to write down all the questions I think about for a week, and then we're going to get together in a room and I'm just going to ask him about all of these. And so we learned like what does it look like to make a stage angry face? What does it look like to, you know, and he talked about like, think about what your face feels like when you eat a lemon. And, you know, so when your cheeks scrunch up and your eyes get sort of narrow and your nose wrinkles and, you know, you get kind of squinty like that, that's an angry face. And we talked about where you put your hands, where you put your face, where you put your arms, so that I could add those things in. And then, yeah, as Briley said, like, you know, if you wanna pretend to be a fish, you sort of put your palm on the right side of your head, and your fingers are sort of sticking up above your head, and then you wave them back and forth, and it looks like a fin. And so as you're walking around and you're wiggling your little fingers up there, people are like, "Oh, he must be a fish." Especially if you're like, "Honey, what do you think about this river?" You know, then it's real obvious.
I love that. So it kind of on top of that, you've already answered this a little bit, but has there ever been anything you need to do to adapt, use alternative techniques to do improv as a blind person? Anything you would recommend maybe to someone who's starting out that they should be aware of or ask for as an accommodation or anything like that?
Yes. I always ask people first when they would do sweep cuts. So sweep cuts is where you have the back line, which is the line of all the performers, and then people will step out together and do a scene, 2, 3, 4 people, however many. And they'll be doing a scene, and then when it's time to cut the scene, sweep cuts are where people will run out in front of them across in front of in front of the performers. Mm-hmm. That tells the performers, okay, our scene's done now. This person is now in. So they run across and then come back to center stage, and pick up the new scene, mm-hmm. right? And so sometimes some groups do cuts by just they walk out. And it's like, well, that's not going to work because I'll just still be running my big old yap and I'll have no idea you want to come in the scene. Yeah. So we do clap sweep cuts. So they'd clap and then run across mm-hmm. and do it. Mm-hmm. So then there was that audio cue for that, which a lot of troupes do anyway. But it was a thing to ask for. Another one was just learning how to trust that if I jumped out with somebody and they were already doing an action, I would wait. Either I would wait for them to give the first line to give me a clue mm-hmm. about maybe what they were doing if I couldn't tell. Right. Like I'd kind of look at them like, hey, what's up? You know, like, I don't know what's happening. Yeah. And trust that they would say a line like, I don't know. Oh, man, I hate being a janitor on Tuesdays. And it's like, okay, now I have an idea about where we are,
Yeah.
Or sometimes I would just jump in and give a line. I would just jump out there and do a thing. I often would end up doing that. Maybe that was a little bit of management on my part. Just jump out and start something and then trust that someone else would pick up on it. And sometimes they were wrong about what I was trying to do, and I would just go with what they picked,
Right. Your partner's,
And-
you're
and-
always right, and your partners are always right.
Exactly. And you're co-equal in that. I mean, I remember I came out one time on stage and I was running in place like I was jogging. Unbeknownst to me, the guy, a couple of feet away was surfing. And so he just turned around and went, "Hey Jesus, out for a run?" and we just went with it.
Oh, that's good.
And it was cute, and we had a fun scene with it, and and that kind of thing. If and you'll know when you find your people. That's the other thing. Improv, there's a lot of times where you'll do a jam, and there'll be people you like playing with and people you don't like playing with, and when you gravitate toward the right people, that's where the real camaraderie comes from, where groups come from, all that kind of stuff.
And they'll ask usually. And I personally don't play blind characters usually. I don't think I ever played a blind character. I don't know that I ever explicitly didn't, probably. Sorry, I'm thinking out loud as I'm having this conversation.
I do
But
it all the time.
I don't think I ever did. And it only came up one time in I think it was my level 2 class. My buddy, who I will not name to protect the innocent.
Or the guilty.
Protect the guilty. We were supposed to be looking at like the cherry and the spoon sculpture, which is a famous sculpture at a sculpture garden in Minneapolis. And he couldn't think of something to say. So he said, "Well, I don't know why it matters to you. You can't see it anyway." Right? Now, he was my friend. We had been in improv together for a while. So I was like, that was dumb, but I wasn't particularly super offended. Right? But he came up to me afterward and he said, "Yeah, man, my bad. I shouldn't have said that. I blanked out and I couldn't think of anything else to say." And that was the first thing. So that's probably going to happen. And you're probably going to say something offensive at some point by accident. Because when you're trying not to have a filter, sometimes that's what happens. And you have to be willing to give grace to other people when they make a mistake. And then if they're the right people for you, then they will return that to you. Because that does happen occasionally. It only happened to me once in that area. But it probably will happen at some point, and you just can't assume best intent, and don't assume that it wasn't because they don't think you're capable. It's just they had a moment where they couldn't think of anything else, and it didn't land. But my blindness has only been brought up in a scene that time that I can think of. Off stage, it has, for sure, when you hang out with a bunch of comedians, especially at first, sometimes, especially if you're a woman and it's a bunch of bros. I'll be honest about that. And I love it. I like dude energy, so like I'm okay with that. I was a musician for a long time, so I was often one of the only women in the room. So you're kind of get used to that a little bit. After a while, though, they let it go, and they find other things to make fun of you for that are unrelated. So sometimes you just deal with that initially, and then everyone gets over it.
I mean, there are only so many blindness jokes that people can make, and then like after a while, it's like, okay, we heard that one, come up with something new, you know? So they're gonna run out. But I do like the idea of. I don't want to. I'm trying to think of a different way. You know how when you don't want to say something, that's the only thing that comes to mind. I like the idea of growing a thicker skin. Because I know that's something even for myself. Like I know it's something that is it's a good skill to have, and not taking everything so personally that it affects your day or things like that. So it does seem like that is a benefit, a potential benefit to doing improv. And I like what you said about assume good intent. That's just huge in life in general. But Both of you, have talked about finding your people. Briley, you just mentioned the situation about blindness, and one of the questions that I did have on here is, do you find that people focus, quote unquote, too much? That's going to be relative for each person. Too much on your blindness. Could be on stage, could be off stage. Ryan, why don't you take this one, and then Briley, if you have anything else to add, just add it when he's done.
Can you repeat it for me?
Yeah, sure. Brevity's also not my strong suit. Do you find that people focus too much on your blindness, particularly if it's the wrong, not your people, if it's the wrong group for you?
Sure. I have found, particularly when I did long form, people were really fine about the blindness, right? Because long form, it's a bunch of artists, and they want to make sure that they're making art, and they recognize that bringing in diverse viewpoints is part of art. And so in the long form spaces, I've never had a problem with it. I will say in one short form instance, there was a challenge with it because they were selling tickets, and the players were great. The director that we were working with, I think, had some concerns about, what is this going to be like, or what is this going to look like? How's this going to go? And they gave some pushback on that. But the actual people that I have done improv with have always been wonderful. And I mean, I genuinely cannot think of an instance where somebody was terrible, which is a wild thing to experience in life, right? And it's sometimes it's to the point where maybe they even forget, and that's an opportunity for you to stand up and be like, wait, if I'm supposed to run out into the audience, I need to make sure that I have the right path down before I just go tearing out between all of these tables, right? And so they're just like, okay, Ryan, why don't you be the one who runs out into the audience? I'm like, hold on, let me think about how to do this first. And that's what you want, which is really amazing.
That's good.
I would echo that sentiment for the most part. I would say the instance that he's talking about with the directors was challenging for me. I'm not going to speak for Ryan, but I'll speak for me, because the players were so great. And because we had been doing it so long, we were really dedicated, and I was like, I know that I'm good at this. I know that I'm good enough to be in a main stage show more than one time. I know that. And I had the added bonus of being a woman, which sometimes improv or comedy in general tends to still be a more male-dominated space. Not always. It's not like that in long form in Minneapolis, but in some places at the time it was still that way. In short form in the troupe we were in, there was always, they used to jokingly call it the one, lady spot. Right?
Yeah.
In the main troupe, there was always just one spot for a woman and 4 spots for men. And so we had that. And it was the hard part about it for me was I felt like, I know that this is about my blindness. I know that, but you don't want to believe that that's true, because you think, oh, well, surely I'm being too sensitive, So that was difficult. But I think that exists everywhere. So I think if you're getting into any kind of performance-based anything, that's something you may have to address. And if you address it directly, I think most of the time it will go well. Yeah. I loved the people that I've played with. And for the most part, I haven't never experienced any kind of weirdness around blindness. And if I did, I just didn't do anything with those particular people again, but really rare.
That's good. So if someone wants to try improv in their hometown, their community, what advice, I guess, 2 things. How do they go about finding something? Where should they start? Should they take a class? Should they, check something out? And any advice as they get started that you haven't, you've already said many helpful things, but any advice?
I would start by Googling an intro to improv class or improv level 1 class in their community. I don't know about most communities, but a lot improv's pretty popular. So a lot of places will have at their either local improv theater or community theater or comedy club will have some type of intro to improvisation class. Sometimes if you work for a corporate job, they'll even have like workshops you can do that are like intro to improv. They love my improviser friends. They love corporate gigs because they get paid a lot to go and teach a bunch of like white collar guys how to loosen up a little, you know. So I would say do a class. You can do jams, which are like you just show up and do games with people, essentially do improv. But if you've never had any experience with that and you've never been, I don't know. I personally prefer class initially for things because there's so much structure. But some improv theaters do have open jams, even specifically for people with disabilities. Some theaters do have those. You have anything to add on that, Ray?
I think one of the reasons that a class is really helpful too is because if you're getting into improv because you think you're funny, right, then the first thing you need to realize is that it is not the you show. And so a lot of what goes into the introductory improv classes is how to do the give and take, how to listen, how to share, how to yes and, how to support. And so that, if you were to just try and jump into this and be like, it's going to be the me comedy hour and everybody else is here to be my props, maybe you can make a show out of that, but it's likely not going to be improv and it's likely not going to be popular. So taking class, and it also gives you an opportunity to figure out if you're going to like it. So yeah, absolutely. Finding a class is great. And there's so many theaters around the country. If you live in any decent mid-sized and up city, there's going to be something there. And if not several somethings.
Even in my little town of Ithaca, the library is putting on improv classes once a
Love
month.
that.
So there you go. I love it. Well, would you guys be up for doing some sort of improv game
Yeah, we brought some games.
Yeah.
to finish us out? Some games to
Yeah.
finish us out? All right.
We figured
Yeah.
we'd do some short form stuff.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
You gonna play, guys?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
We're going to do some short form stuff. We'll do one kind of long form thing in a bit. But so world's worst is you get a profession. And then you essentially take turns stepping forward and delivering a line from the perspective of the world's worst version of that. So I'll put Briley on the spot here and say, world's worst pilot.
What does this button do?
Hey, have you guys ever tried flying upside down? It's amazing. Check this out.
I really hate heights. Heights are the worst.
Where are we flying again?
Okay, let's do world's worst doctor.
I didn't know someone had that many ribs.
Oh, squishy!
Squishy, oh no.
So, $100 extra, I'll give you the good surgery.
Did you say you needed meds?
Yeah, what's your cash app?
I'll do one more.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. World's worst barista.
I have an oat milk latte for Barrett. I can't read my own handwriting.
Yeah, sorry. Did you say you wanted rum in that?
I don't even know. Dark roast, medium roast. I'm a tea drinker.
Yes, queen.
Yes.
Is that diet water you wanted?
So, let's see. 2 shots plus milk plus flavor. That'll be $64.
We are in New Orleans.
Prices are high.
So another sort of fun short form game is called Ad Agency. And Ad Agency is you take a product, and don't worry, we won't pick a product from somebody that sponsored us. And you come up with a slogan for that product that would just not be a great way to sell that at all. So let's take, for example, Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola You don't really need teeth, do you?
Coca-Cola, have you seen what it does to a raw piece of meat?
Coca-Cola, my Coke of choice.
I knew he was going to be good at this.
Coca-Cola, because getting battery acid out of double A's is way too hard.
Coca-Cola, because who needs sleep?
Coca-Cola because who needs a pressure washer?
Coca-Cola, good for your drains, must be good for your liver.
All right, let's do Under Armour. Like the clothing? Yeah, like the clothing. Under Armour clothing.
Under Armour, because I want to look like I tried, even though I didn't.
Under Armour, stay wet after you sweat.
Okay, that's the title of the episode.
That's your button right there.
That's it.
Yeah.
And scene.
Yep. We're not gonna top that
Lizzy
one.
wins comedy.
Yep.
Lizzy wins comedy.
We'll do one more.
I was gonna say Target, but they sponsored us. So.
Yeah, no. Again, can't do any real people. Oh gosh. Oscar Mayer.
Oscar Mayer, because you want your medical bills to get higher.
Oscar Mayer, at least 2% real meat.
Oscar Mayer. It's better than school lunch.
Oscar Mayer. You're welcome, Michelle Obama.
I love it.
Oscar Mayer, I don't think we're in Germany anymore.
One that game that goes a little bit more into long form, but you'll often see it in more short-term places because it creates comedy just naturally, is called an alphabet scene. And so the way that this works is Briley and I will do a scene, but each of our sentences has to start with the next letter in the alphabet.
So this audience picks a letter.
Yep.
Right?
So the audience picks a subject and a letter, and then we start from that and just sort of go back and forth. So, can one of you guys give us a topic of something we should discuss?
Chicken wings.
Chicken wings. Okay. And without picking Q or Z or something crazy. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody does. Where should we start?
How about F?
F. Okay.
For the love of all that is holy, do we have to eat wings again?
Gertrude, you know how much I love buffalo wings. I just have to have them.
Harold, I know you love buffalo wings because we get buffalo wings every Friday.
I love buffalo wings almost as much as I love you.
Just once I want to go to Ruby Tuesdays. Is that too much to ask?
Keep complaining and we'll do buffalo wings 3 times a week.
Listen, you never listen to anything I say. All I want is Ruby Tuesdays, a salad bar for once. Would that kill you?
Maybe if Ruby Tuesdays had buffalo wings, I'd actually want to go there. I don't want an awesome salad bar.
Nice, the sarcasm. Always the sarcasm.
Only you could make my love for buffalo wings something that I just have to defend all the time.
Please? Please?
Quit giving me those puppy dog eyes. You know I can't stay mad at you.
Really?
Sure. You want to do Ruby Tuesdays? Maybe I'll bring some Buffalo Wild Wings in your purse.
That does not sound like the kind of compromise I was hoping for.
Ultimately, I'm trying to create a situation where we can both be happy.
Very good. Very good.
We're agreed then?
Exactly.
Xylophones. our thing that they play a lot in Ruby Tuesdays. That they're my favorite instrument. They remind me of my youth.
You
Why I
want
want to go.
you want to go for xylophones and salad bar.
Zoinks. Yep.
Ah, you never cease to amaze me.
Believe it or not, I'm a consistent woman.
Chicken wings, Ruby Tuesdays, xylophone music. This actually sounds like quite a nice day.
Does 7 o'clock sound good?
Excellent.
And scene.
Bravi!
Wow,
So good.
that was impressive.
So good.
I was like, don't say absolutely. Don't say absolutely. Get out of my head.
Absolutely am.
As you guys were thinking, I
Absolutely
guessed a couple of those, and then some of
I
them were like
know.
totally threw me for a loop. It was great.
I'm like, all I can think of is the xylophone.
Yeah.
Go, it's
You're
xylophone.
sure. It was so good.
Nope. You just go. That's all you do.
And sometimes you just sort of deadpan the audience. You'll go, exactly. And
Yeah.
then, half the people will boo and you just kind of stare daggers at them. Like, what are you going to do? Well, you're not up here.
Well, and what you want to try to do, which I think we did, was not be. It's easy to fight. It's fighting is an easy out in improv to yell back and forth or to yell over each other, and not that fights shouldn't happen. Married people fight all the time, maybe even sometimes over chicken wings. But this wasn't really over chicken wings, right? This was because she didn't feel listened to. She didn't feel like he wanted to do a thing that was important to her that she wanted to do. And so you can either continue to fight about that or you can try to resolve it, which is what hopefully you do in real life, right?
Excellent.
Exactly.
And that's
So
more
good.
my thing. Ryan's better at the short form stuff than I am. I like the character pieces of it, but
Yeah.
So that was more short form still.
it was a little long form.
kind of
But they do it
in-between,
in
yeah.
at short form
Okay.
places because it is gamey.
Yeah.
There is a game involved there,
Very nice. And you say you prefer the long form, Briley, but
I-
Ryan, you kind of lean toward the short form.
I like them both for different reasons.
Yeah.
I like the fact that comedy just sort of naturally comes out of long form. It feels more honest to me. But it can also be really intimidating because when you can talk about anything, right, the field in front of you can be wide open and oh my gosh, where do I go from here? It can be overwhelming. And so the fun thing about short form games sometimes is just like, this is your guardrail, this scene you can only speak in questions, right? Like, so even as you're creating, you're like, well, here's this thing that I can lean back on.
That's so good.
And that's fun.
I feel like improv has to be so good for mental health. It's like gotta be really good for your brain. You're thinking, you're on your toes, and then
So
also
good for
you're
mental dexterity.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
It is
good as
really
a crossword
fun.
puzzle or something like that.
With short form, even because the joke games were always the hardest for me, like 185, which is one where, the joke 185, whatever, walk into a bar, bartender says 100, we don't serve blah, blah, blah in here. And they say something back, right?
Yeah,
It's a punchline.
185 doctors walk into a bar. The bartender says, we don't serve doctors here. And the doctors say, we're just looking for shots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Stuff like that.
It's very jokey.
Yeah,
And I would always challenge myself to try and jump out and do it because it's so hard for me because it's a lot of pressure to be.
Yeah.
That is like you have to be funny,
right.
But it is super satisfying when you land the plane and people think it's funny.
Yeah.
when
yeah.
you find one. So
Right. Thank
should
you
we make
guys.
them do new choice?
You guys are so good.
The new choices is not.
No,
I
it's
think
not
would be a
audio
tough
friendly?
rookie
Okay.
game.
You guys do it.
Okay.
You guys do it. We love listening to you.
All right. Well, then we're gonna pick on Lizzy over here. So normally what you would do is you would have like a bell or something like that. But otherwise you can also say like take that back or a new choice or something like that. So, and this is a long form game. This is it's done in long form. It's also done in short form, but oftentimes in long form particularly as an exercise. The idea is the first joke you come up with is not your funniest joke or not your most creative joke. And so what we'll do is we'll do a scene, and we'll get to a point, and one of us will say something, and you go, new choice. And we have to come up with something else, and maybe you still don't like that one, so you say new choice again. And then eventually we get to something that you do like, and that is the reality.
Gotcha.
Right. So if we were coming in and I said, I'd like a cup of coffee, and you'd say, new choice. And I'd say, I'd like 2 punches in the shoulder, please. And so then the story is coffee was never in that story. Right? So it gets you to think about, like, if I don't go for the easiest thing, what comes? And these are a lot of fun just to see, it very much puts us out of our into our heads, because we have to, like, now I have to think of something new. And watching people struggle is hilarious.
And so just to clarify, Lizzy can say that multiple times throughout the scene.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there can be new choices in different points in the scene.
yeah.
Okay, so it's not just
Yep.
like at the
You can
beginning.
even say
cup of
new
coffee.
choice
It's-
about the same line
Multiple
3
times.
times.
A minute later.
You
Do
know,
it, yeah.
a lot of people do it
Okay.
2 or 3 times because the rule of threes, unless you land on one you like,
Yeah,
You're
if
the
whenever
director.
somebody says
I love
kills,
this.
then you
I get
just keep
to.
going.
You have the
I feel like I
power.
have the remote control in my hand right now. Like I'm.
All right, so Katelyn, give us an example of what's a place you would not want to go on your anniversary.
McDonald's.
McDonald's. Okay, so
Oh, it's
this.
that bad. Sorry.
No, they're not
I don't know if they are or not. Give us
Not
some
anymore.
more genuine. Caitlin, Caitlin, what is some place you would not want to go on your anniversary?
The top of a freezing mountain.
The top of a freezing mountain. Okay. So we will inform this scene based on the top of a freezing mountain. Okay. All I got to do is put this flag down, and I own half this state.
New choice.
And I will be the oldest mountain climber ever to have climbed this mountain.
Dad, I'm so glad you brought me on this trip. It's kind of cold though. I thought maybe for your 70th birthday we'd go to the Bahamas. After you put Mom in the home. Said we could go do something fun.
Well, I tell you, this is the most fun I've had in decades. I'm standing up here, wrapped up in my 14 layers of clothes, with this big old flag with my picture on it, and I feel like I'm 60 again.
I'm so proud of you, Dad, but Phil always says it's too cold to climb mountains. You should go to the beach instead.
Phil, that husband of yours?
Yes.
Oh,
What other Phil would I be talking about?
Well, that's why Phil's not here. What would you rather have done? I mean, we're already up here at the top of the mountain, so, just as a thought exercise, what would you have preferred we'd done?
I mean, I already said.
Oh,
The Bahamas.
The Bahamas. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What world record could we possibly break in the Bahamas?
Sand surfing.
New choice.
Collecting the most number of seashells possible.
The greatest number of seashells.
Mm-hmm.
With my tiny hands? I'd be able to get like $5 silver tops. And you're not even allowed to use a basket in those
Dad,
competitions.
you're not?
No, you're not.
You only have your hands?
You
Can
only,
you have pockets? I'm so intrigued.
as I understand it, you can only have your hands. That's why I'm up here. Because I can use gear to do all the climbing, and I can still feel proud of what I've accomplished with my tiny, tiny hands.
Well, do you have a flag with my face on it?
I think the other side of it can have one. Let me just draw a frowny face here. Yeah, there we go. Me and Frowny Face.
That doesn't look anything like me. That looks like your first wife, Edna.
New choice.
That looks like Bill, your Sharpay.
I knew I should have paid more attention in that art class I took with your mother. But, when I found out that I have 2 left hands when it comes to drawing, I just couldn't stick with it.
Well, I can think of one thing you stuck with, Dad. Mountain climbing.
Yeah. I mean, look at us, all the way up here. You and me and that picture of Bill the Sharpay. Pretty proud of us.
Maybe this wasn't so bad after all, but can we go to the Bahamas next year?
If you can get a nice hand surgery, I'll support you in your seashell collecting.
Appreciate that, Dad.
Okay.
And scene. Good job, guys.
Very nice.
That was not easy. It's not easy
No.
at all.
Small hands.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No.
Thank you for
And
showing
I mean,
us how it's done.
that's the thing, right? Is I'm like, I'm trying to think of why I don't want to. Why is my character so? I don't know why my character doesn't want to go to the Bahamas. So it's like, what am I going to say and what's going to happen? And here we are. He has tiny hands. Probably makes him a great rock climber and a terrible seashell collector.
I was going to ask how you holding that flag.
It's a tiny flag.
Tiny flag for a tiny man.
Oh my goodness, guys, this has been so much fun. Thank you for coming through for us. You did the improv workshop a few years back, and we enjoyed it then, and we had a lot of laughs. And it was just nice to get it on recording and have all of your advice available to our listeners.
Yeah, I'm really happy to do it, and I hope that people give it a shot. It's really a rewarding experience. It's just pure creativity all the time with a great group of people, and would love to hear how people's adventures go.
For sure.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Of course. Well, everybody, live from convention, this has been another episode of Scene Change.
I'm Caitlin McIntyre, President of the National Federation of the Blind Performing Arts Division. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Scene Change. If you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and visit our website at nfb-pad.org. There you'll find links to our social media, membership, and resources for blind performers. Thanks to everyone who makes this show happen. Scene Change is executive produced by Shane Lowe, Caitlin McIntyre, and Lizzy Muhammad Park, with audio production by Drew Mochak. Also on the team are Maddie Hendricks, Aaron Jordan, and Melissa Sprouse, with music by Ryan Strunk and Tom Page. Remember, you can be the performer you want. Blindness is not what holds you back. We'll see you next time.
Can I say Sausage Fest? I don't know if I can say Sausage Fest. Okay.